All right, we are live, so we'll call the meeting to order and we will start with roll. And we have Ginny here. Are you going to be calling roll today?
Yes.
All right, excellent. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Rice,
Here.
Longstreet,
Here.
McCaffrey,
Here.
Belknap,
Here.
Bush,
Here.
Greenlee,
Here.
Hill,
Here.
Allison Miedema, Jim Miedema,
Here.
and Sachs.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great. Thank you, Ginny. Okay, we will move down to additions and deletions to the agenda. We do have just a couple today. We will be adding 10B, which is a North Ottawa Dunes update. This is just for information only. And we will also have 11E, which is nominating committee announcement, and that's also just for information only. So just a couple quick placeholders there. Also, because we have a public information hearing or meeting, not hearing, meeting today, we will be switching 11A and B. So the Rosy Mound Master Plan will come first, and then we'll follow that with the foundation reimbursement request. Just so we can address that first, and if folks need to leave, they'll be free to do so. All right, we will keep moving to approval of minutes of the previous meeting. So you have the November 20th meeting minutes in your packet. So do we have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Support.
Okay, great. Thank you, Linda and Lucas. Any questions, edits, comments on the minutes? All right, we'll go ahead and put it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, minutes are approved. We don't have any communications today, so we'll move to our first period of public comment. If you are in the audience and would like to make a public comment, you'll have 3 minutes to come to the podium and do so. If anyone is here for the Rosy Mound presentation, we are going to go ahead and allow public comments at that time as well, but we will need you to fill out a card with your name and address. So if you'd like to grab one of those and fill it out ahead of time, and then we'll call on you later during that part. And then there's a final public comment at the end of the meeting as well. So did anyone in the audience care to make a public comment right off the bat? All right, we'll just keep rolling then. Folks online, you'll see a link if you'd ever like to submit a written public comment to the Parks Commission. There's an email address there, so feel free to do so at any time during the month, and we can review those during our Parks Commission meetings. All right, we will go ahead and start with the director's report under the staff report section. Jason is here today, so welcome.
Thank you, Kelly. So just a few quick things. We have been working with KLH Dune Preserve Board, the City of Ferrysburg and City of Grand Haven on shared management of the Grand Haven Dune property, or collaborative management. So, we've have a draft MOU in the works, so more to come on that in the future. The Consumers Energy, they had their public presentation. We'll make sure we get the plan and the board meeting or the board packet next week, so next month. And then if anybody hasn't had a chance, help me welcome Jenny Anderson, our new administrative assistant. So she's here with us today. So.
Hey, Jason, can I just mention on the consumers, you wouldn't have known that, but that meeting got postponed
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
because of the weather that day. So it is now January 8th.
8th, yep.
Yes.
Mhm. Right.
Thanks, Kurt.
Yeah. Good. Any other questions for Jason? All right, we'll keep rolling with Parks Operations Report. Jason, you're up.
Hi. So this month we one of the first pictures in there we helped out, operations staff helped out with Neely's staff with the hunt at North Ottawa Dunes and Ottawa Sands. So I'm sure Neely will bring that up, but our operations staff helped out with that again. And then we spent a lot of time continuing to get Ottawa Sands and the Item Explorers camp up and running. We had an RFP for blinds and some more IT setup and tweaking and things like that that are going on. Also working on the reservation system and rec track and getting that set up as well. And then also with Jenny starting and with no Jenny for a while, we also operations staff picked up some of the slack during that period, doing additional invoicing and requisition stuff that myself and some of my staff weren't used to in the past. So it was an adventure this month as well. So other than that, if anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Anything for Jason?
Hey, Jason, the photo in the packet, that is the Woodland cabinet Connor Bayou. Is that what that is?
That's the Connor Bayou cabin. It looks a little different than most people are used to because there's usually a bunch of tables in there.
Oh, okay.
But that was right after the new carpet went in.
Thanks.
Just one question.
Yeah, go ahead,
How did,
Linda.
how did snow plowing go with us doing it up in the north area?
There was a little issue on the one day that the county had the snow day. There was a little confusion as to whether operations staff should come in or not, and but that worked out really quickly. And as far as getting the plowing done on time and done well, it's better than it's ever been.
Cool. Can the snow plow go home with whoever does the snow plowing, or is that not an option?
It is an option, and we do actually encourage it on days that the snow prediction for the following day might actually prevent that employee from making it into work. So if we're, if
They
we're
can
look-
make some money on the way into work.
and again, it has to be, it has to be something that the employee would be okay with, because they're going to end up leaving their personal car at work, and then they're going to have no access, because they obviously can't drive the snowplow to Walmart that night to go grocery shopping. So the employee will only do that if they don't have anywhere they're going that night either.
Okay.
So it's kind of a unique situation, but if it does work out, it does help us guarantee that employee will actually be able to make it into work the next day.
Thanks.
Anyone else? All right, thanks, Jason. We'll move on to the planning and development report with Kurt.
All right, this is the time of the year when I can't find any pretty pictures to give you like I usually do. You see, we're down to 2 pictures of gray concrete and paths, but that's all good. Yeah, this time of year we're taking care of paperwork on all these projects and gearing up for projects for next year. And the thing I did want to report on is our grant situation, because December is when we find out about grants, and we had 3 grant applications in, and we're successful on all 3.
Okay.
Awesome.
It wasn't totally unexpected, but it's always good when it happens. So to review, one was for the Eastmanville Bayou connector of the Idaho Explorers Trail. That was a trust fund, Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grant for $400,000. And then we had a grant for the Upper Macatawa Modern Restroom Project with the Land and Water Conservation Fund. I believe that was, it's less than $300,000, but between $200,000 and $300,000. And then in cooperation with the state of Michigan, we got a $750,000 grant for the Idaho Explorers Trail through the Bass River. So that's awesome too, although it's not quite as good as you think, because the state has promised $2.6 million. That would be towards their portion of provision, because they actually submitted the grant and so forth. But that's awesome. We're gonna plug right ahead. It always takes a few months for that all to get down to us and the funds made available, but that means all 3 of those things will start later in 2025. So other than that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Anybody questions for Kurt? All right.
All right.
Exciting news.
Mhm.
All right, we'll keep going here with the community engagement report. And Jessica?
So I'm going to start with a little of an update. There we go. On my numbers, as you can see in my notes, we are working on integrating volunteer reporting a little bit better into this report. So the numbers you see there aren't totally accurate. We had one volunteer event with 66 folks there, which was really good for this chilly weather. Again, we're looking at November. So we'll keep, we're working on our processes to make sure stuff gets in here as it should. A few other things worth highlighting. We are planning to work with Conservation by Design for our interpretive agreement for the Grand River Greenway. That agreement's been submitted to the Board of Commissioners for approval, so that should be moving right along. I would like everyone to please mark their calendars for 2/22, which will be our Ottawa Sands documentary screening at Hemlock Crossing. Really excited about that. We will also probably do a VIP event that the foundation will be more of the host for. So working on a date for that one yet. And I'm sure you'll be hearing from Angela and Glenn. And couple other things in here. Wanted to announce we got some great news from Friends of Ottawa County Parks. We made 2 funding requests to them for fiscal 25, and they will be funding both of them. So one of them is $2,700 for some school program supplies. What we'll be doing is getting digital microscopes. That should be a lot easier to use during programs, and then the accompanying Chromebooks that you need to pair with them. And we're working with County IT to get those ordered. So we've got the best pricing on those. And then a macro invertebrate stream table, which George will have to be here to explain how that works exactly, which can be kind of fun, but everybody's really excited about it. So I'm sure we'll have
Can we get a demo? I would
Yes,
love
we
to
can
know.
definitely do a demo. I'll put some pictures of little like berry shrimp in here when we see them and all that good stuff. And then we've been talking a lot about service-based learning. Those field trips have been traditionally free to schools as they've kind of moved under, as volunteering has moved under community engagement. We were like, oh, well, we charge $6 a kid, and that's how we, fund our staffing. How are we going to make this work? And we talked with Friends about funding those. So we usually have about 1,000 students come through. So they did fund $6,000, which would be likely all of the service-based learning field trips that we'll do this year. So very, very cool. I'll say just a couple more things. I included a screenshot in here of some of the new programs that you'll see in the newsletter, which got delivered to Fillmore, not our offices. That's always a fun game we play, yesterday. So if you haven't gotten them in the mail, you will soon. Lots of new stuff on there. We're really, really excited. And yeah, we've got a lot of new stuff going on there. We're going to work on some displays in the rotunda, getting those updated. We've got some pretty major web updates coming through. And then I can't give too much information because they haven't announced it yet. We did receive an award from MParks for Ottawa Sands. So
Ooh,
very
job.
exciting. So thank you to Riley for getting that application in and doing a great job on it. And yeah, as soon as MParts makes their, does their press release, we'll have one to follow also. That was more from me than usual. So if you have any questions,
Yeah, fabulous.
let me know.
Questions or comments for Jess?
Just a quick,
Go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead. Jane.
Okay.
Jane, go ahead.
just a
first.
quick question. Sorry, I should ask permission
No,
before it
that's-
just blurt out. So with the Friends, the bequest they make or the funding that they provide, is there a little bit of, do they let you know like how much they have to possibly provide in any given year, or do you just kind of ask for whatever seems
They've
logical?
created a more formal process for funding requests, both for that we can use, and then also sometimes if a school needs something, they've got a little application that folks can
Okay.
fill out. And I've been to enough meetings and seen the report that we've got a pretty good
Kinda
idea
know
of what they have.
to
So
do.
I knew that they had some money to give. I don't know that it would look like this every year, but
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, that felt like a comfortable request. And we offered, if they felt like thinking about service-based learning, if that was too much, there was the option to do 50% of that. So yeah, I think it'll maybe a case by a year by year
Yeah.
basis.
Yeah,
but,
very generous though. That's
yeah,
really
no, that
nice.
was, I think they wrapped up a fundraiser this fall for their stewardship fund that was quite successful.
Okay, good.
Bruce, go ahead.
Kudos on this. This is such a great publication. I got mine today
Good, great.
in the mail. So, yeah, you guys do an awesome job.
Awesome. Yes, Riley puts that together and she does a ton of work. She's really wonderful. Thank you.
Very nice.
I actually have a follow-up to publication. So the outside scoop that you included in here,
Yeah.
the
Yes.
kids magazine, have we been doing that for quite some time?
No, this was,
Okay.
I'm trying to think of how that request came in. It wasn't one that we were familiar with, but they were asking about, they had some ideas and we are like, oh, we know who to talk to. So yes, we connected them with George.
Oh, okay. So who contacted you?
The creators of this publication.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Gotcha.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I should have made that more clear. This is not our publication. It is an
Okay.
outside publication
what I
that
was-
George did an interview for.
I understand. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you for that
Yes.
clarification. Because I looked at it and went, oh, I feel like I should know we put in this out.
No, this is not
That
a
makes
new one,
sense.
although it is very cute.
Thank you. Anything else? Any other questions for Jess? All right, thank you. We will keep going. Neely with the Natural Resources Management Report.
Yeah, so as Jason mentioned, probably the biggest thing to happen in November, natural resources wise, is the hunt. So we select 36 hunters via lottery to hunt at Ottawa Sands and North Ottawa Dunes. And I think the hunt has been going on since like 2012, if I remember correctly. We didn't have as successful of a year this year as we have in the past couple years, but we still took about 29 deer, so that's pretty good. And it, for anyone who's not familiar with it, it is for deer management to reduce the amount of deer because they kind of overbrowse the understory there. So it's always really popular among hunters, and all in all, I would say it was a success, even though it wasn't a great year for hunting. I think it was just a weather thing, from reports from all the hunters. So I have gotten a lot of good feedback from those hunters, though, even those that weren't successful. But then kind of moving on, stewardship activities. So the stewardship crew is kind of shifting gears this time of year. So moving away from a lot of pesticide spraying and doing a lot of woody invasive removal, some cut stump stuff, and seed processing. I know I've seen some of your faces there. And what else? Oh, hemlock woolly adelgid. So we're really focusing on hemlock woolly adelgid right now. I know I've talked about it several times in other meetings, but I just wanted to give a few updates because we had an opportunity, the stewardship department as an entire staff, to attend a couple collaborative meetings about hemlock woolly adelgid. So we attended 2 meetings. One of them was a Michigan DNR annual West Michigan HWA survey training, which is a regional offering. So a lot of the partners, land managers from around the area, got together to talk about experiences during the year, to review current best practices for survey, and then kind of shifting gears to the importance of prioritizing now that HWA is more widespread around the state. So just because we can theoretically treat all of our hemlocks doesn't necessarily mean that we should. It's a very resource and labor intensive task. So we're talking about prioritizing by site as well as by specific trees. So looking at site specifics, ecosystem functions, tree condition, so the live crown ratio, as well as the canopy density of the hemlocks that we're looking at potentially protecting. But also looking at the time since infestation. So that seems to really be a factor as far as survival and health of hemlocks is kind of gathered from these partners from around the region. So that kind of inspired some further detection surveys further inland, including at Grand Ravines North and Burr Oak Landing West. So both of those detection surveys did lead to new detections, unfortunately.
Oh.
So disappointing, but not altogether surprising, given the state of HWA around the state. So we're working on putting together a timeline of first detections at our hemlock or HWA positive sites right now to help prioritize survey and eventual treatment. And then we are also able to make it up to the 2024 HWA celebration and partner update put on by the DNR. So this is a statewide meeting. So land managers from all around the state, including from the UP. So the partners again talked about successes and failures of the treatment season. And we kind of went over our original goal for HWA in the state. So the original goal was to stop the spread of HWA. That doesn't seem to be completely working because obviously we keep finding new infestations further north and further inland. But it was found that the spread of HWA in Michigan is at about 6 to 8 miles per year. So that's significantly slower than the northeast part of the country, which is about 30 miles a year. So while we might not be reaching our ultimate or our ideal goal, we are slowing the spread. So that's positive. Also, only about 1.5% of the total hemlock resource in Michigan is currently infected. So that was sort of encouraging as well from my perspective. There were a couple pretty far north detected here. So there was one in Leelanau, kind of in the Northport area in July of 2024, and then Antrim County in Torch Lake Township. So it's getting up there. To this point, no HWA has been detected in the UP. So they're doing a lot of boots on the ground survey, but also trying different methods of survey, including eDNA, so environmental DNA detection. There's actually a lab at Grand Valley that developed a method to actually find airborne DNA of HWA to see if it is present in areas. So I know that they're utilizing that in various areas, including the UP and then the Manitou Islands. And no HWA has been detected on the Manitou Islands as well, so that's good. So kind of the main takeaway though is partners, including Ottawa County Parks, is they're shifting to a longer term mindset. So at first, you know, it was kind of an early detection, rapid response thing. So it was putting fires out, right? So we're starting to think about the long term and how and if we can sustain these treatments. As so far, there is no like great way to do retreatments. Once we do tree injections, you can't just keep injecting a tree. It'll girdle it basically. So at this point, the only way to retreat these trees with the insecticide we've been using is a basil bark treatment, which is expensive and pretty labor intensive. So we're starting to think about prioritization, like I said. So, and things like integrated pest management, using silviculture, so forest architecture, basically, to help the trees that we're prioritizing survive. Biocontrols are on the horizon still. I don't think that there's been one single biocontrol that has been deemed safe and effective. But things like planting resistant varieties or even planting alternative trees that serve similar ecosystem functions like cedars. And then, like I said, prioritization. So the Forest Service actually developed a matrix model that uses weighted variables to prioritize stand protection. So that way we can really direct our efforts in the areas where it would do the most good. And I think that is all I had to say about HWA, unless anyone has any questions.
Neely, could I ask you, as far as those trees that have been treated and injected or another method, how successful has that proven? I mean,
The
do
Yeah,
pretty well?
so the chemical that we're using, well, and it's pretty much industry-wide, I think, is imidacloprid. So it protects the trees from up to 7 years, depending on, successive application. But yeah, it's pretty effective. But I mean, the effectiveness does start to wane after a while. And there's actually studies going on right now to look at amounts of residual imidacloprid in trees after, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years after application. So, but it is pretty effective.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Lucas, you have a question?
Thank you. Was Ottawa County Parks, do you recall, involved with treatment out at Mulligan's Hollow?
No, that was actually the conservation
Oh, it
district.
was, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've been working with Muriel at the conservation district. She's the current, she leads the HWA crew. And so I've been checking in with her about things, especially when we're talking about like the Grand Haven open space. So I think that they're actually scheduled to treat that area as well. So they've been working with the city of Grand Haven on a few of their properties. So Mulligan's Hollow, Duncan's Woods.
Yep. Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you. And so how does it spread? I don't really understand that.
So it's mostly via birds, as far as natural spread goes. But I will say that the first few infestations that were found in West Michigan after Ground Zero were campgrounds, so like state park campgrounds. So branches would brush against recreational vehicles, and then they would bring it to the next, because so many people, travel around going to different campgrounds. So yep, they're not super mobile themselves. They're tiny insects, but they hitch lots of rides. So
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we need an RV wash at all the state parks.
Yeah.
we'll have to look into that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thanks, Neely. That was great. Very informative. I'm glad you were able to attend as well. So. All right, we will move on and go to the development report, and that will be Glenn.
In November, we had a great November. We had 66 gifts, which brings our number of gifts to date for the year at 992. And we still have December ahead of us, so which is always one of our biggest months. So it promises to be an excellent year for us. Among those gifts, we received a gift from the Weggy Foundation, one from the Miller Knoll Foundation, as well as the Heron Oaks Foundation. Very, very generous gifts, which brought our average gift to $3,099, which is kind of out of line for where we've been in the past. So it kind of sets a new standard for us, but that's great. Year to date, then, our average gift is $693. So, and then with regard to our annual revenue, this month we raised, 10% of our goal, which brings our year-to-date goal of to 137% of goal. So we're really doing well. And what all of these numbers point to is the fact that, the development office and the development initiative, with the help of the foundation, it's really on the grow, and things are going our way. I did want to give a report on fundraising for the Rosy Mound Nature Area campaign. And you can see a list of donations that we have received to date. This is not just for the month of November, but this is for the year, towards the program rather. At the beginning of this month, December, we had $471,000 that had been donated and received. I'm very pleased to say that since that time, we received a supplemental $50,000 grant from the Grand Haven Area Community Foundation. So their total commitment is over $250,000 now. We also received a grant of $11,000 from the Youth Advisory Fund, which is held by the Grand Haven Area Community Foundation. So our total contributions towards the Rosy Mound property right now is $532,411, and that's against a goal of $1,015,000. So that program is really moving ahead nicely. So, and then at this meeting, Kurt's going to talk more about plans for the Rosy Mound property and what we plan to do. So, thank you.
Great. Thanks, Glenn. Any questions? Oh, those are great numbers. Okay. Typically, we every quarter are going to try is where we would have a financial status report here as well. But I think, and Brandy's here. Wave your hand, Brandy. But I think it's a little easier, at least in my mind, when I think quarterly, I think, March, June, September, December, but we'll back it up a month to make sure those numbers, give time for those numbers to be pulled together and just have a snapshot that will go to finance and policy and then come to the commission as well every quarter, just to see where we're at and get an update there. So we'll probably look for that in January. Okay, and then we'll move on to committee reports. Executive committee, we talked about the agenda here, mostly the Rosy Mound and the information that will be presented. I'm just looking here. I think we went over some dates. There was a date sent around, kind of a hold the date for January 8th for the Parks Commission's organizational meeting. So everybody who's on the Parks Commission next year should kind of hold that for now. That is subject to change, but yeah, so those were kind of the main things. It was a little bit brief of an executive committee meeting this month. So, but any questions from anyone?
So really plan on holding the 8th because the Board of Commissioners can change when they meet with the new Board of Commissioners, as that was what happened last time. They changed their dates, which all new boards have the opportunity to do. So depending on when they meet is when we will then meet, and we need to have an organizational meeting quickly into the first of the year so that we have, and Kelly's going to talk about nominating later, but put that January 8th date on so that it'll be a short meeting, but it's like, so we have officers and we know what committees people are on. There might be another meeting that month, but it depends on what the Board of Commissioners does.
Thanks, Linda. That was much more thorough.
Sorry. That's just one of those things that I've been thinking
All
about.
the time.
I was sick, but I was
Nope,
thinking of
very
that.
good. That's good information for sure. All right, we'll keep going then with the planning committee update. Lucas?
Yes, thank you. Yes, we did meet and it was a good meeting. Most of the meeting was focused on the Rosy Mound expansion, which we'll get into this afternoon. Melinda was there giving us her take on the community engagement session that we had, and Kurt as well. So we did have some updates on some other items, talking about some additional enhancements out of Ottawa Sands that are in the hopper for consideration. Some special projects that the Rotary up in Spring Lake is looking at, in the Grand Haven Spring Lake Rotary, and doing kind of a fancy overlook area out by the lake. And there's also some concern about the intersection of 144th Ave and Green Street. So maybe making that more pedestrian friendly in the future. So as always, Aaron and Kurt did a great job with the minutes. So thank you.
Questions for Lucas? All right, thank you.
Welcome.
We will keep going with the foundation update. Jane?
Yeah, I've got a few things. So to circle back on something we had talked about here in our meeting a few months ago, which was the memorial bench program that has migrated over to the foundation, and they're now taking care of that. Our question as a Parks Commission was, what happens when those benches, the lifetime of those benches, they need to be replaced? Can the original donor re-up for those benches, et cetera, et cetera? The program is new enough so that none of that has actually happened yet, but I brought it up to the foundation, and so we've formed an ad hoc committee to take a look at those issues for commemorative benches and potentially other things as well. So there will be some some guidelines and processes in place when those benches need to be replaced, and how the original donor can stay engaged and that type of thing. So those meetings, probably just a couple meetings, and we'll come up with some guidelines. Glenn, included some information on the Rosy Mound fundraising, which is going great. We're well on our way to meeting our goals. And did you want me to talk about the Grand Haven Foundation, Glenn?
The 50,
Supplemental?
that was the $50,000.
Yes. That was not reflected in your report, right?
Well, it was not reflected in my original numbers
Okay.
of 471, but the number that I reported verbally
Okay.
at 532, it is
Okay.
reflected
Yep.
there.
Okay. Gotcha. We just found out today, I think, that the Grand Haven Foundation is donating another $50,000 toward Rosy Mound. So that's exciting. That is a popular project and people are really behind it. They want to give money, so we will take it. Similarly, the foundation's end of year appeal is out there and on track to meet the goal of the foundation. So that's good news. A few dates for you. You'll probably get bored because I'll probably remind you of these periodically, but the Piece Together Puzzles event is going to be sometime in March. I don't have an actual date. But if you are a puzzler, watch for that. I'll try and get a date as soon as I can. Art for the Parks is going to be April 26th. So that is the pop-up art at, I think, is it going to be at Hemlock Crossing again? At Hemlock Crossing, that the Lakeshore Visual Artists Cooperative does. So April 26th for that. Breakfast and lunch at the park is June 12. And the Grand Explorers Trail Race is June 21. So, yeah, it'll be a busy first half of the year. That's all I have.
Great. Any questions for Jane? I'm still taking notes here.
Well, what was
Writing
the-
down dates.
What was the date of the race again?
I'm sorry?
What was the date of the race again?
The race is June 21. June 21.
Great. Anything for Jane?
Are you going to start training, Jason?
Cool. You
Now
get,
would be the time,
Right?
guys.
Yeah, get your gym memberships in.
you
right?
get socks.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
They
you
are
do
cool
get socks.
Very cool. All right, so we are done with committee reports and we'll move on to old business. And I think Kurt, were you gonna give a grant status update for information? Yep.
Kurt or I can answer any questions
Okay.
on
Okay.
those. So
Excellent. I like all those recommended for funding updates. That's exciting. So good. That is super thorough report. Thank you for providing that. Does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask on those numbers or status updates? All right. And we will just keep going. I wanted to give a brief, this is the agenda added item, the North Ottawa Dunes, an update here. Joe and I can kind of tag team this as well. But just as a summary, if you guys remember, just as a quick overview, that we had some historic flooding in the North Holiday Hills neighborhood adjacent to North Ottawa Dunes back in 2020, and Parks allowed the pumping to go into the park in 3 different locations. And Neely and her staff were out there assessing. There was some damage as a result of that. And then we had a settlement for $180,000 in damages, and there was a settlement agreement drawn up. And so we're kind of in the final stages of that. I know it's been kind of hanging out there, so we just kind of want to give an update on that it looks like, so there's a settlement agreement that's, defines the amount of damages. The township and the association then bear the responsibility for future flooding and damages. So they need to address those. Parks and the Water Resources Commission will not be involved in that in the future or for the responsibility. And then it releases liability or future claims for anybody as well. So we're just kind of done. And I think what I understand is, everybody signed it except for, it's just in the final stages of going to the homeowners association. So Parks, the Board of Commissioners, Joe's office, Spring Lake Township, everybody signed off on it, just has now made its way to the homeowners. So, and anything you wanted to add, Joe?
No, you pretty much,
Okay.
you pretty much summed it up.
All
They
right.
got a new board president.
Oh,
up
that's
at-
right.
So it has to go to that individual because he's got to sign off
Okay, great. That's good to know.
for North Holiday Hills.
Yeah, perfect. That's good to know. So just kind of wanted to give a brief update there, that it is moving forward, hasn't been forgotten about, but any other questions on that item? Any additions? All right. We will keep rolling then and go right into the presentation of the preliminary Rosy Mound Master Plan. We moved that to agenda item 11A under new business. So Kurt, I will take that over to you. And again, or Melinda, it's nice that you're here too. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, let me just give a little background, right? Most of you know we engaged, started the master planning process in late summer. And at that point, we chose a consultant to help us with that. That's Melinda and MCSA Group. We spent September kind of doing an inventory and figuring out what's there. And then in October, we created 3 different concept plans that showed various levels and intensity of the improvements that we would do on the expansion site and how it would connect to the existing site. And then November was our big month. We had a public meeting. It's held at Grand Haven Township Hall. Many of you were there. We didn't have a huge turnout. What was it, 45, 50 people maybe? But in conjunction with that, we also did an online survey. And that received over 1,500 responses. And so that took a while to weed through because we did let people just put comments in there, not just ABC, but put comments in there. And so a summary of that is what I included in your packet. That's mine and Melinda's best summary and analysis of what those results really meant. So the purpose of the meeting today is to present a plan that takes all of that stuff into account, including the planning committee, because we've met a couple times and talked about things we'd like to see and how it should go. So it's the latest iteration of this plan that we think is getting pretty close. We're still going to allow time for public comment for the next couple of weeks. The planning committee will probably talk about it one more time. But we're hoping we're getting close enough that in January we could actually approve this plan as the plan we want to move forward. So I'm going to let Melinda go through the materials that have been prepared and the final plan, and then see what you think.
Thank you very much. Really excited to be here today with you guys. As Kurt mentioned, some of you may have already seen versions or aspects of these plans in the community and public have too as part of our public engagement. The first slide that we're showing here is just the vicinity, showing the relationship of the acquisition property to the existing Rosy Mound natural area and the relationship to all the other parks kind of in the region. On this sheet, we also were highlighting the Parks and Recreation Commission's strategic plan statements, just wanting to keep those at the forefront of our mind when we're working on these plans, with the goals of stewardship and promoting outdoor experiences and creating a legacy. Go to the next slide. Thank you, whoever is driving. So this is just our existing conditions and photo inventory plan. We have updated it from previous iterations that were shown. The dark green area is the existing park, and the light green area is the acquisition area. The things to note that are different from previous iterations that we have shared, you zoomed in nicely on those brown colored trails. Those are all the existing unmarked natural surface trails kind of going through the park. Yeah, there's a little few to the south and then a bunch to the northwest. On the south side, oh, yeah, right there. And then on the south side of the property, the black lines are representing existing trails that are part of the marked system that were either paved or wood deck, etc. The other thing we added is this dashed line that is in the heavy kind of orange red color. Everything inside that area was part of the previous mining operation, and we consider that to have been disturbed. I think in some of our public responses, maybe not everyone understood exactly where that limit of work was, and that a lot of these proposed improvements are happening inside previously disturbed areas. Next slide, please. This is just another analysis plan, just inventorying some of the natural features. Again, there's a heavy red line. Everything inside of there was the previously disturbed area, but we're just looking at some of the different types of vegetation that could be found within the park. Next slide. The slide right before that, that was just for reference, pictures of a lot of the existing styles of architecture and steps found at the Rosy Mound natural area. For instance, the restroom building that we'd like to mimic on the new property, examples of all the different types of steps and paving that you can find throughout the park. We'll be utilizing all of those kind of similar styles on the new property, as well as examples of fencing and picnic tables and site furniture. And now we are at kind of our revised concept plan. As Kurt mentioned, we started with 3 different plans and gathered input from the community and lots of people. And a lot of the responses that we received really wanted to keep the improvements to a minimum, other than focusing on trail development. We showed various levels of quantity of trails in all of our options, and the feedback we received is people wanted all of them. So in this plan, you can see, if you want to maybe zoom in, start in the left corner. There we go. Thank you. The dashed black lines represent natural surface trails that would now become marked trails with some minor improvements, such as timber steps to help navigate grade and trail signage and maps. We're also looking at the north corner, rerouting that portion of the trail slightly to direct it away from the neighborhood entrance, so only people from the neighborhood would use that small little loop, and general park users would avoid that area. If you pan down a little, and you can see we added some more detail here. There's kind of a blue-green color lines, those represent crushed stone trails. The orange lines represent areas that would need to be boardwalks with steps. The yellow line is an on-grade boardwalk that would be connecting to the existing on-grade boardwalk that's in the park to kind of bring it out farther away from the evergreen trees to provide views of the dunes. And then it would connect up to a crushed stone trail and then go up the orange, which is the boardwalk steps, and then kind of connecting down to the other side of the dune. Everyone could kind of see that. You're doing good. You're doing good.
You want me to do it, Jessica? Because I do know what.
Everybody is like really dizzy.
I thought you were doing pretty well. Hey, while we take a break, can everyone in the audience hear okay in the back and everything? I just wanted to make sure. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Right, so Kurt is highlighting kind of the path that would connect to the existing park all the way up the dune. That's about a little over 50 feet of grade change. And then if you want to highlight the ADA, one of the things we heard in the community meeting was that people wanted a way that was accessible to get to the top of the dune, so that their entire family could come up and have views to the lake. Now, we can't make it accessible all the way to the lake, but this was a nice attempt to get up to an observation area that everyone could use. Because currently at the existing Rosy Mound Natural Area, there is an ADA pathway, but it doesn't take you to any views through the dune. And then the black line, oh, which way are you going, Kurt? Why don't you pan up and to the right a little? The black kind of loop there is an ADA accessible 1 mile loop. It's kind of at the bottom of the dune, so it'll be flat and it goes around an area that would be naturally restored. And we'll kind of look in more detail on that on the next slide. And then you can kind of see we have 2 areas of trails that go south to connect to the existing park. The long orange line would be a fairly long boardwalk with steps that then would get you to the top of the dune and connect to a natural surface trail. This is one of the trails that is kind of already and again, it would need to be improved with some timber steps to help with grade and prevent erosion, etc. Yeah. And then from the kind of the existing parking lot area, you can see there would be another natural trail that would then connect to more. And then boardwalk up to the top, kind of right where the cursor is, that's kind of the top of the dune, and then it would come back down. And then that point becomes a little more level, so it'd be a crushed stone trail, gradually sloping down. And this plan has been updated from previous iterations. Some of the trails to the south we were showing as crushed stone trails, but we've changed them to be natural surface trails to be a little more cost effective and sensitive to nature. If you want to flip to the next. Oh, oops, actually, one thing I missed. At the existing park entrance, we are calling out to add a signaled pedestrian crossing there from the existing way. So this is kind of zooming in on the trailhead area. We're showing an entrance drive that kind of follows the existing entrance drive used from mining operations. It would come into the site and loop around. Have 50 barrier-free or 50 parking spaces total. I'm showing 4 barrier-free spaces so that we are considered universally accessible. The restroom building is kind of in the middle of the arc right there. Yep. And then we have 2 kind of areas for outdoor education and classrooms that are covered. That one there accommodates 50 people, and another one that accommodates 25 people. And we also are providing school bus parking to help get the kids there for those programs. And the other thing to note, we felt like 50 parking spaces would be adequate based on trip data to the existing park. However, we know that there are periods of time where it is really busy, so we are allowing for additional 50 overflow spaces along the edge of the drive there. So in the future, if it does become super busy or popular and you want to make those more formal or keep them overflow, but we're trying to create minimal impact in the meantime. And while we're at this part of the drawing, we'll also highlight we are showing another bike trail connection that is signaled over at the drive. And in this area, we heard a lot from the community members about wanting fencing to define the property and keep people where they're supposed to be. So we have added some timber fencing similar to that at the main park to control vehicles. Nope, and some right there. And then the pathway here, you can see we're showing it as a concrete pathway, nice and level. I do have bike parking shown in there. A little spot there, and another one. And in where that kind of circle is an interpretive area with interpretive signage and some informal seating on a seat wall. And in this plan, you can also see we highlighted, along with the natural restoration habitat, a potential area for an interdunal wetland, which would be kind of a unique habitat, not anywhere else here. That would be kind of evaluated further to make sure we can make it work with all of the covenants on the property, etc. This plan shows a little more detail with the ramp going up to the top of the dune, if you want to kind of pan over there. Yeah, this is kind of showing the full loop and all of the connections. And that pathway is long enough to try to keep it under 5% grade, so it would not require a handrail and also be considered universally accessible. I think that is an overview of the plan and the revisions that we made after hearing from the public. Kurt, was there anything else that you wanted to add?
Well, I think that's good about what we have here. I did do a little analysis just this afternoon. People might be interested. Get my notes here. The plan as proposed adds about 3.75 miles of new trail. About a mile of accessible trail. And we've been talking about impact, right? So it impacts about 3.25 acres total. That's basically taking this whole area plus something for the trails. So 3.25 acres out of 127 is about 2.5%. So very minimal.
Right.
Very minimal impact in terms of heavy development. Even this area, I'm sure we would treat like our other spot, which has native vegetation everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And really try to tuck it in and make it as natural looking as possible.
Talk about some of the trail design, trying to manage where people go.
Well, yeah,
keeping people.
and we're putting together kind of a narrative that would explain some of this. But yeah, I mean, like what we did previously, we're trying to have trails that get people where they want to go because they are going to go there.
Right.
And so if you give them a good way to get there, they tend not to go places where you don't want them. We don't want trails going all over the place. We want people.
So
Most people to use.
a question on that topic. Are the, sort of the trails that people cut because of their casual use, are all of those being turned into, are we using those naturally cut trails that are already there, that people have just
Yes.
worn
so-
down. Are any of those going to go away?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, in fact, for example,
I didn't see like I didn't see an overlay of the two.
yeah, we didn't, but for example, there's a trail that goes right here off-site.
Uh-huh.
That one's
Okay.
There's some other trails in here that we chosen the best one to direct people to. So
Mm-hmm.
most of the trails we find, people go where it makes sense. It's the easiest,
Mm-hmm.
right? So most of it's okay, but yes, some of
Yeah.
them we are not utilizing and we'll try to keep people away from.
Okay.
Thank you for the flashing light. My neighbor almost took out somebody as I was coming to the meeting today. He almost took somebody out in his Buick. He almost took a pedestrian out. So that flashing light will help.
Kurt, you mentioned it's like 3.7 miles of new trail?
3.75 miles of
New,
trail.
new trail? And do you know what is existing today that's out there? Okay, that's okay.
I know it's
At the original property?
yeah. It's a 3/4 mile hike to just go straight out to the lake from the
Uphill.
parking lot. But that doesn't include the loop, and it doesn't include
Right.
a lot of this Andre boardwalk in here, right? So that's quite a bit more.
Gotta
But
think
yeah,
of
I
at
would
least
say it's
double
more
it.
than doubling.
I would think
it.
that,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
More than doubling.
more than double. Okay.
And it sounds like there's opportunities for a good workout in the new section as well. So that's great.
Yeah, I imagine
Yeah.
we'll get the exercise folks out.
But I do really appreciate the all of the accessible paths, especially to the overlook or the I don't know if you call it an overlook, but one of the viewing stations there, the overlook deck. Yeah.
All of the initial concepts had something at that location because
Mhm.
that is really the primo
Mm-hmm.
spot for this expansion, right? You can get up there and see the lake, you can see back where you came from. It's just great, and everybody should be able to enjoy that. And thankfully, because this is heavily disturbed already, and actually we met with the Eagle folks out there about that, and if we can stay out of areas that are less or more than a 3-on-1 slope, we can do something like this. And so, yeah, it's really, I think, important to get it in the plan.
Do you want us to offer
You can ask
questions? Does
questions,
anyone
or I
have
think-
anything
Yep,
or?
we're happy to.
Or just a reminder to members of the public, if you'd like to ask questions that can be quickly answered, we could try to address them here. Otherwise, if it's something more extensive, we could follow up with Kurt Terhar, who's up front here talking at a later
And
point.
Kurt,
in
what are
time.
our next steps?
So the next step is we're going to take comment yet for a
Mhm.
couple more weeks and incorporate those if appropriate. And then, like I said, we're going to go to the planning committee. We'll probably bring up the final thing. And then we'll go for the January meeting, whenever that is, to try to get approval for the master plan. And we'll also at that time, have cost estimates and a written kind of description of our process. So we're doing that because we are hoping to submit a grant in April or 1 to help fund a first phase of this plan. So that's the process we're hoping to go for.
Great. So just to clarify, that online survey is closed, but people can just submit their own
Yeah,
written
you go to the
comments
website,
yet. So,
These plans are on there, and it gives the county email, and if it goes there, it goes to me.
perfect.
I will answer those.
Great.
The slides that we're viewing today were those available during the public meeting as well? So people saw?
Yeah, the concept, the 3 concepts.
Yeah.
Yes, were, and now this is also up on our parks website.
Yeah. Okay,
So there were 3 really big displays of
Okay.
each option.
okay, thank
That's
you.
no longer up there.
Right.
The survey is no longer up there, but the latest information is up there and a way to contact us.
How closely does this resemble the least developed option that we saw at the open house? Because this is pretty minimal.
It is, yes. Yeah, we-
That's pretty close probably to what we had at the open house, isn't
use
it?
that as the basis,
Yeah.
right? I think we did a lot more detail on the the trailhead area, and then we added the trails from the other plans.
Mhm.
That seemed to be, even the folks, I mean, the birders wanted more places to see birds, right? I think that was, I mean, and that's totally unsurprising.
Yeah.
Trails is our number one, whenever we ask people, they want places to walk and hike. So, yeah.
Currently, Lucas, to answer your question, there's 1.87 miles of hiking trails at Rosy.
How many?
1.87 miles.
On the existing?
Existing property.
Really? Is
right?
that all?
That's it.
Yeah, it's because we never.
Well, I shouldn't say is that all. I'm always exhausted after
Yeah, when you
I
give
come out of there.
Yeah, there are these trails in the northwest corners that we never improved or directed people to.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't handle them, and it directed people off
Right,
what is our property.
right,
So
yeah.
now that we own it all, and it's supposed to be open for people, we can.
Okay, okay.
And we've made a place for those people that bring their boats into the beach so they can use the bathroom now.
And then just a note for anybody online, Riley added links to the preliminary plan in the YouTube description also. So if you're tuned in and want to get a closer look.
All right, anyone else? Any further questions from anyone?
Thank you.
No questions. I'll just note that it's a very well thought out design for this incredible property. So it's nicely done.
Folks in the audience, they're all set?
Like I said,
Okay.
anybody can
Great.
contact me. if they
Great.
have Things they thought of.
He's
later.
friendly.
What's that?
You're friendly.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And thanks, Melinda, for coming. All right. Let's see, where are we here? Okay, we will move on to item B, which is the Ottawa County Parks Foundation reimbursement request. Yeah, is that also Kurt?
Mhm.
Okay. Oh, I'm on the wrong agenda item.
So we did one earlier in September, October that aligned with our operating budget. This one then is we typically do into the calendar year as we've had some time to close out our fiscal year, then this will be a reimbursement request for capital projects. So.
I mean, it's pretty obvious what's on there, right? The big one is the IDEMA grant for Ottawa Sands. We spent all that money. We need it back. And then the rest of them, the bench program, right? We have expenses for that we get reimbursed for. But the remainder, right? This is less than the what they collect for the commemorations goes to the foundation in that program. So that's great.
I'll make the suggested motion
Great, thank you,
to
Jane.
request that reimbursement.
Or
Thanks, Jane. Thanks, Linda. All right, do we have any questions?
if anybody wants to give us money.
Right? Yeah, these
That's
dollar
what-
amounts are impressive. That foundation is really doing a fantastic job. All right, we'll go ahead and put it to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries. Okay, moving on to item 11C, the Historic Ottawa Beach, West Michigan Park Association light parking license. Let's see. Thanks, Linda. Jason. Did you want, well, we actually have talked about this and it does come to us from the planning committee. So if we want to, we could go ahead and get a motion on the table.
So moved as presented.
Okay, thanks, Lucas.
Support?
All right, thanks, Joe. All right, did you want to give a little bit of an overview then, Jason, or?
So historic Ottawa Beach or Park 12 has a long history working with cottagers there. And so we have an obligation to accommodate residential parking as part of our ownership of those properties. So undeveloped lot, the owner of that lot reached out and requested accommodations for parking. So we've worked through this with legal counsel as well as representatives from the West Michigan Park Association. And it's a very similar license agreement that's been used in the past for parking. So.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Comments? All right, we'll go ahead and put it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, motion carries. And then we have the motor vehicle permit software budget adjustment. I don't think any committees have seen this, so I'm going to ask for a report from Jason Berger. You have that, and then we'll go ahead and entertain a motion before we ask questions.
Sorry about the timing on that it didn't work out to make it to finance, but felt that it was important to bring here and see if we could get this moving forward. But as we developed the 25 budget, those were known costs that were to be entered into the budget. And as we worked with the treasurer's office to split the costs of the enforcement software and the permit issuing software, we did that and we determined what was going where. And then when working with the new OpenGov software, the portion that was supposed to go to the parks did not get entered. That oversight wasn't discovered until we started to get our first bills and tried to figure out where to pay them from and noticed that the funds weren't there. So these are funds that we were in our last year's budget, but just did not get these same funds did not get added to the 25 budget. It's no increase or change.
Oh, nice.
So I outlaid the detail there of what it is, but basically it's the Verizon wireless coverage for each one of those machines, the fee, the subscription service for each one of the machines, and the online software for the passport system for buying permits. And those are annual costs that happen every year.
All right. Do we have someone who would like to make the suggested motion to authorize this budget adjustment?
I would move that,
Okay.
support that the way
Okay.
you described.
All right, as written, Bruce?
As written, yes.
Do we have a second or support?
Support.
Thank you, Jane. All right, are there any questions for Jason? You wanna-
I'm confused. I'm not disagreeing that we need to pay this. I am confused as to how it didn't get included and then how finance didn't get included in this.
So I do believe we had it on the agenda when we met in executive committee. So when we realized this, we could have waited. I think typically we would have a finance committee meeting next month in January. I'm not sure when they typically fall.
I'm just curious
So-
where it went. I mean, if this is, this was in the 24 budget, right? Brandy's shaking her head for me. Thank you. It was just not where it was supposed to be in the budget?
So 24 is last fiscal year.
Okay, this last fiscal, we had it somewhere and we didn't copy it into the 2025?
There was a new process.
Okay,
The budget software changed, so there was no way to do a direct copy like this one's here. We'll just move it here. So it was a whole new process that didn't include any real reporting for us to check our work. I don't believe that process is going to be used again next year. I'm not sure yet, but it looks like we have some work to do to be able to have better reporting while we're doing the budget, so this doesn't happen again.
so how did we find it?
The bills came due and there was no money in the
Yeah.
budget to pay them.
No account to assign it to.
Brandy and I have already talked about worksheets that will provide the background that will eliminate these in the future.
Okay.
So.
All right, thank you.
That's a good question. Any other questions? Concerns? All right, we'll go ahead and put it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
All those opposed say nay. All right, motion carries. Okay, we only have one, this is one of the added agenda items. 11E is the nominating committee, super brief. I just wanted to announce the president each year, and it's pretty informal committee. We just pull it together at the end of the year. But we have two folks, Jane and Linda, will be our nominating committee, and their responsibilities will be, once we have a Parks Commission membership finalized, we'll have our organizational meeting, which Linda did a much better job explaining than I did. But what we'll do with our first meeting of the year, Jason will start it because all of the officers here right now, myself, Jane, Linda, our term as officers are done December 31st. So we need to elect a new slate of officers moving into January. So the nominating committee talks to folks on the commission. So if you'd like to reach out to Jane or Linda to talk to them about that process or anything, or, make suggestions, they'll come to the first organizational meeting with a suggested slate of officers. Of course, the floor is open. Anyone can make a nomination. In addition to that, it's not that's it written in stone or anything, but it's just a formal process that we go through. So
There's one small caveat. We don't have elected officials or county officials as officers. We changed that in the bylaws, correct? 3 years ago? I'm hearing yes, and you're saying
Yeah.
no. I thought we said no
for
elected.
the officers.
For officers.
I don't think that's written anywhere.
Then we'll have to
We'll check the bylaws and
Yep.
the nominating committee will
Okay.
ensure that we're
Mhm.
inclusive to the extent of our bylaws.
Correct. I thought I knew exactly where it was in the bylaws, but I won't hold up the meeting for that. So, any questions on that item at all? Okay. All right. We will keep going to our second round of public comment, but it looks like we don't have anyone else. Does anyone want to make? All
No
right.
pressure, no pressure.
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect presentation.
Right. Yeah. No questions even. So great. All right. We'll go around the horn then with Commissioner's prerogative, final one of the year, and just see if anyone has anything that they'd like to share related to parks issues. We'll start with you, Vince.
Well, I'm sure I could find this somewhere, but as Jason, you're talking about the computer permit system that we've been using this year, and it looks like it's, $45,000. And when you guys had spoken some months ago, there was, a lot of usage. A lot of people were getting permits. I'm just wondering, toward the end of the year now, about how much the county has taken in with those permits by that system. Do you know?
Yeah, I don't remember the final number, but it was well over 600, close to 700,000.
Wow. Wow. What a good investment then.
And that was a record year. I mean, we're
Sure.
Around 600 or high 500 has been where it's been over the past several years.
Okay.
And the renewal process is very, very nice.
Yeah,
So,
and we've made it even easier this year. And
yeah.
one of the things we did change, I know we had some comments last year on the renewal process. One of the things we did change this year is that when your permit expires on December 31st, you will still be able to renew it. Because people were getting the notification to renew their permit, and then, a month or two or 6 months or a month or two before it expired, And then when they went in to renew it, which they of course waited until after it expired to renew it, it wasn't renewable anymore. So they had to start the process over, enter all their information again, and it confused a lot of people. So we changed that. So they'll be able to renew it right up through the year as long as, until such time as we change the cost of a permit,
Mhm.
they'll be able to auto renew it like that whenever they want. But we'll have to take that ability away if we change the cost of the permit 1 year
Mhm.
sometime in the future.
Okay, thanks.
Is that it, Bruce?
Yeah.
You good? Okay, thanks. Jim? Okay, Lucas?
Just great job on the Rosy Mound project. So thank you.
Jane?
I just want to say goodbye and thank you to Roger. Appreciate your service and appreciate you jumping in when Kyle left. So I hope to see you on the trails. Thank you.
Well, Jane stole my, Roger, I just wanted to thank you. And I think you really brought some great considerations to, especially the planning committee when we can have more detailed discussions. I think your insight was really, really valuable there. And, thank you for being so engaged. I think it's really great when we have commissioners that are engaged and, participating in the process. So yeah, thank you very much. I also wanted to thank park staff. I think the recent Lights at Night event, brought it to me, but you failed to realize how much after hours work that the park staff put in. I mean, you guys are out there all the time, weekends, nights, everybody's out there volunteering, getting stuff done when I think that goes unrecognized sometimes. And I know we have, nightly, public hearings and, public outreach events too. And I think it's just, I don't know when you guys sleep. So thank you very much. It does not go unappreciated. So, and kudos on the grants. That gets another shout out. So that's fantastic. Linda?
Part of me wants to be not a real grown-up at the moment, but I'm going to be an adult here. First of all, I want to thank Kelly because at the moment, I don't know if Kelly is coming back. The Board of Commissioners meets tomorrow, and I'm going to say that 5 years ago, when I came on the commission, Kelly was in the midst of having to deal with David Van Gehoven passing away. He was sick and passing away, and then there was COVID. And then there was 2 new commissioners, and there was lots of stuff going on, and you have been by far and above one of the best teachers and leaders that I have been around in my professional life and certainly in my volunteer life. So, and then you stuck through it in the midst of going through cancer treatment. So,
Thank you.
I think it's really the county's loss, and I'm not happy about the fact that people haven't been able to stand up for you the way I think they should be able to stand up for you. Second of all, I too, Roger, thought you did a really great. I thought you added really valuable information. I was really pleased. I know when I came on the commission, I say this with all the love in the world. There were 3 old white guy Republicans, and I'm not. And they were the best guys for me to learn from ever. I mean, but everybody took into consideration what was best for the county. And I have always appreciated that about the Parks Board. I have not always felt that way these last 2 years, but I will say with you, Roger, I have always felt that you have cared about what was going on for the county and the parks. So thank you, and thank you so very much for everything. If you don't come back to us,
Okay.
which we don't know yet.
Right. Thank you, Linda. Joe?
Well, I kind of had the same comments with Kelly, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. Maybe there'll be a change. We'll see. Tomorrow will tell. But again, thanks for your service, Kelly, and all the hours that you put into it. You're very thorough. You take everybody's questions. Your follow through is amazing, and your leadership has been outstanding. So we appreciate everything you've done for Ottawa County and the Parks and Rec and your service, especially when you're going through life issues, with cancer. And you still hung in there. You joined us via Zooms or YouTube and been a part of it. You'd never stepped away. You were always very in tune even when you weren't maybe in tune.
Yeah.
You know, with the health
Fair.
issues.
That's a good
That's
assessment.
a good assessment. So thank you. And then again, Roger, thanks for everything that you've done for Ottawa County and your service on the parks, and especially on the planning. You bring a lot of the infrastructure knowledge and common sense to that. So we appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, my turn.
Your turn. Your turn.
This has been a lot of fun. This type of operation is near and dear to my heart as far as, you know, what governance is. It's infrastructure, it's taking care of things, and, you know, being responsible for, you know, what's been planned and created before our time, and trying to think about how we can maintain that after we leave. So, just kudos to the staff. I made this comment at the last board meeting too, that this is a very thoughtful group, making the best of what is a beautiful environment. I feel like I failed you guys a bit. I tried to get that bucket truck for the
The lift, yeah.
show the, you know, the responsibility that they have and their priorities and
Roger, we take private donations.
But this has been great. I appreciate everybody's kind words for me, and just return that as well. I've learned a lot from all of you, and this is a good team, and I imagine this organization will continue to thrive and do great things. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Roger. Paul?
Oh, goodness. There's been genuinely terrific comments made, and I'll echo all of the comments and sentiments that have been made. You, Kelly, have been the only chair of the Parks Commission that I've ever served with. And I've known you prior to this board as well. And I echo the comments that are made about your leadership of the organization. And thank you. And it's a privilege to serve on this board. So thank you. And with you, Raj, as well. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Paul. All righty. I didn't miss anybody, did I? Okay. All right. We do not have closed session today. It's good for you, Lucas, because you got to skedaddle. So we did mention the upcoming organizational meeting date right now. Remember, it's the 8th, January 8th. So kind of pencil that in for now, but
And you'll get a calendar invite, so pay attention to your computers.
Yeah.
They'll go up tomorrow.
So good.
Once you know from tomorrow.
Yes. So, all right, we just need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All right, thanks, Jane.
Support.
All right, thank you, Lucas. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. All right, meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Happy Christmas, everyone.